Yes, it is Kill Radio. The strains of, that's right, Kraftwerk. I couldn't find Tour de France. I've got it somewhere around here. It's not bike season yet. Actually, it is bike season, in a way. Let's see, there was the Giro today that it was really funny. The weather was so bad up on, what was it, the mountain there, Gianni. I can't pronounce any of these Italian names. That's just so great. I had an Italian girlfriend for 3 years. Look what good it did me. I learned none of the language except like maybe 3 words in it, and you really don't want to hear those right now. It is Kill Radio. Well, it was kind of funny because I think it was Gilberto Simone was having his last race, and it looks like he was going to, beat out the top guy on the top. But sure enough, somebody else came up and smoked him. Speaking of smoke, Cadell Evans pulled the works a little too late, but he did come in second, so he got a time lapse. But however, it looks like he's not going to be on the podium. It looks like Basso again. Basso, drugging up 3 years ago, got suspended, but he comes back. Do you think that stuff is still in his system, Jeremy? I'm joined by Jeremy, not only of, what is it, Bike
Side, Bike Riders Collective.
And that one where you haul stuff. The
Greensters,
yeah. Pretty insane.
Yeah, Ivan Basso. I don't know, I'm a fan. I was a fan up until he got caught. So.
Yeah, we're all fans until they get caught. It is Kill Radio, and you're listening to, here we go. I think we have 30 seconds until we can actually say it's Bike Talk. Oh, what the hell. It's Bike Talk here. Kill Radio. Hey, there's been so much going on. One thing I want to talk about right away, and I'm going to dial out the music just for a second, just to get serious here. I think I dialed out the turntables. There you go. One big thing that I was really sort of distressed by is I tried to go on Critical Mass last night, and in fact I blurbed it downtown at the at a couple different places, and one of the things I got to be honest about is it was I got there 5 minutes late, which is a crime because I was really trying to get there early, but I was fixing some kid's bike over at Highland Park. Fixed his bike, got on the reel-to-reel, more or less, the train system, and basically it was the biggest mistake I could have done. But I did meet like a half dozen other riders that were trying to catch it too. They got off, and we tried to catch the ride.
They were lucky to not catch it.
Well, it's kind of funny because I hear a lot of things happen last night. But guys, the one thing that I noticed, even coming back and trying to loop back and forth to find you guys, almost in like, what's that pattern they do in aviation? The dead stick pattern where you do little triangles trying to find your crew or something. I didn't find them, but.
Oh, yeah, I do that.
In hindsight, I got to be honest, the people that were visiting from out of town were really insulted. And later on, I got to catch up, as they call it, the old folks ride with Colin Bogart of the LACBC, and, of course, the star himself. I call him a star because he really isn't a star. He's more than a star. He's like an institution in Los Angeles with homesteading. That, of course... Eric Knudsen, who's told me so much about bike infrastructure. At one point, I think he was suing the LA County or somebody, DOT or one of these people, to release the bike plan because they weren't going to do it. And I think it wasn't so much he was threatening him to threaten him, but he was trying to get their ear just to say, hey, guys, you've been wasting this for so long. Anyway, I met up with these guys, and I was telling him about being lost and everything, and Colin related me a story he said he had with somebody that was visiting from London once. Went on the ride and said, this has to be the worst ride I've ever been on. Nobody was talking to him. Nobody was conversing with him. And at that point, this is how long ago it was, he turned to his left, and Liz and Shay were on a Critical Mass. I haven't seen them in a long time, not because of their will to ride, but because of certain other things. We have to remember everybody has a personal life, and sometimes your personal life and your health trumps over a lot of things. They said, let's just go get dinner. So in that vein, I was going to go get dinner, but I tried to catch the other people's ride. It had moved again. And I had a lovely ride back through my own little neighborhood. Maybe a solo ride that we all live in and know.
Those rides are the best.
Those rides are the best. You get to. I remember once going through a neighborhood trying to scout a ride, And I said, wait a second, we have to stop here. And he goes, why do we have to stop? And I said, don't you smell it? And he goes, what am I smelling? The smell of defeat? And I said, no, that's jasmine. I said, they're in bloom right now. And so we designed a scent ride. I think it's along the lines of Katie, who is a slash performance artist slash cartographer. She likes to map with scents and memories and what have you. She had a show down at Habeas Corpus a while back. Anyway, I'm telling all these stories in a roundabout way because I'm really mad at the community now. You can't tell I'm really mad, but you got to slow down if you want us to stick together. And if you don't stick together, you're out to find the cacophony of, let's just say, public law enforcement that's been militarized in the last few years. We saw it at May Day, or as they like to call it, the melee. I like to call it the Gates legacy myself. You saw how much he's heralded for starting SWAT and all these things, but if you think about it, these are all things that are just sort of reinforcing the fact that there is this arm, and they say, well, what about criminals that are just so violent that sit around and play Grand Theft Auto a day or anything? And I'm saying, no, that's kids that play that. Real thieves live that. Mm-hmm. And those people, contrary to how the police them, are still out there if they're smart enough. And the police, with all their infinite wisdom and their policing and stuff, and their increased numbers, we haven't cut into them on the budget. I don't even want to get into that. It's like their jobs are protected. They're not even on the same level with us. And people say, well, maybe it is like old Rome. You know, you get to a level and you don't answer to anybody, not even to your fellow citizen.
Well, yeah, they definitely are standing up for the rich class, the upper class.
That being said, 2% of the population is all we need to get change. I'd like to believe everybody's out there for change. And with that being said, if there isn't a bike plan, if there isn't people jumping all over the place right here, there is you. And it all rests with you. You have the power. So you're saying, what does this have to do with biking in Los Angeles? Well, you know, sometimes you have to talk about your freedom. Sometimes you have to exercise your right to protest. And I'm reminded on one level, when I was downtown during Bike Week, I bumped into a rollout for the Bus Riders Union. They're still doing their bit. They're on a hunger strike to get reduced rates from Metro. Apparently they went up, and I'm not talking like they went up astronomically. They went up like $13 for a month pass and a quarter for that's right, a day pass. So it's $1.50 instead of $1.25. You're going, well, what's a quarter? Well, sometimes that extra quarter adds up, and it can make the difference between you having fresh fruit in the morning or something packaged that'll just stay for a long time. I myself had some bread that I forgot was in my bag this morning. You sometimes do that. But anyway, Chicken Leather here, getting off the subject. We're going to get back onto the subject. Right now, I want to remind you that you're not riding for speed sometimes, because you could all get smoked out there. I've been smoked. You know, we always joked for a while about who's going to beat Jack Lindquist.
Oh, I got one. Like, no matter how fast you are, there's always someone out there that's going to beat you. So
yeah, that comes from Jeremy, our guest in the studio. Let's get to a little bit. I'm going to try and change the veneer until some other guests come in and we start talking about some of the subjects at hand. This is from last week's, or 2 weeks ago, was a kickoff Midnight Riders. I like to think of it as a kickoff Midnight Riders because I think the Midnight Riders still recognize their community. They try to keep everybody together. They don't leave anybody behind, even though sometimes I'm the one not leaving anybody behind, fixing their flat and then trying to catch up. It was Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm was playing in the Inglewood Mall, and we're going to hear them until, well, you'll hear what happened. It is Kill Radio. Wait a second. Kill Radio. I'm saying wait a second because I pushed the wrong button. Isn't that how it always is without a technician? Magically, we're in Santanella Park, and it is Thunderstorm. Happy birthday.
You know happy birthday, Jeremy. Cumpleaños a ti. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to all of you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. I saw you walking down the street. I didn't notice you weren't eating. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream. Cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream, cake and. I saw you walking down the street. I didn't notice you weren't eating. 3, 2, 1, hit me now. Cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream. Cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream, cake and thank you. Thank you everywhere now. Find yourself in Los Angeles. I didn't see you walking down the street. I didn't see any of you. If you think you want to eat. Cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream. Cake and ice cream, Once again, we're from Los Angeles, we're going to get right into what you all came for. And I know we know the lyrics, so I'm already living them. So we're going to get right into it. You and okay, I'm going to need everybody to start doing this with me. I don't know why you're not. You and it's so easy. It's so simple. You and don't stop. You. And I want to hear all you people out there in the amphitheater. We can just hear the amphitheater. What's going on? You and it's so easy. You. And I want to hear all your voices. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I want to hear you. It's a way of being come on, it's the best song ever. So simple, thank you so much. What's on the top of Los Angeles and you are too. You and Los Angeles. take the time to understand that everywhere you go, I am now down. I know you are. Bravo.
Well, that was epic stuff.
When I'm not showing like a freak, I'm listening to Killer Radio.
Well, want to thank Thunderstorm there. Maybe we'll hear more of them. Maybe not. In case you've tuned in and thought, wow, get Kill Radio. They've just gotten a little too weird. Yeah, we get a little too weird sometimes. It is Chicken Leather filling in for the, I guess he's on vacation. It's like the big, what is it, Memorial Day weekend? All sorts of stuff going on this weekend. We want to mention just one, of course, Chupacabras. Maybe we'll have time to play a little bit of Chupacabras that we recorded a while back at their annual spring thing. That, of course, out at Atomic Cycles. Paul from Atomic Cycles doing his best to spread the FUN, the fun, and it kind of all ties in with, that's right, sometimes you have to get off that idea that you're in a hurry. Even though I was in a hurry last night, I realized, whoa, where am I running from? Yourself? You know, sometimes on a bike, it doesn't, you look like a chicken with your head come off. This coming from, I know chickens, Chicken Leather. Yeah. Anyway, and you're no chicken. Hey, it is Kill Radio. And in the studio right now, I have Jeremy. We've told you his credentials, not only Green Stir, not only Bike Side. Hey, tell me what went on with Bike Side last week. We were covering one of the Pasadena things last week, and we're going to play some of that later on, but I want you to tell me how Bike Side went. Of course, just for all those characters out there in our audience that haven't felt the Bike Side, it's not like, you know, Star Wars, right? There's a bike side and there's a car side, and in the middle is Darth Hummer or something like that. This is different, right?
Bike side's like the fun side. It's the best side.
So you're basically like another one of these splinter kind of collectives that is addressing something. What? No. What are you?
We're not just another splinter group. We're the first 501c4 organization. So that means
what's a 501c4?
I'll get into that. C4, it kind of sounds like
is that like explosive?
It is very explosive. And so I'll get into that.
I was watching Sea Hunt yesterday, and the guy mentioned C3, and I'm going, wow, this is an old movie.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, they've gone to C4 now instead of C3.
501c4 is the new speak in L.A., and we are a bicycle activism group. We're very political. We don't take money from the public entity. We are surviving solely on our own funds, so that means that we're not going to be influenced by the forces that are holding us back, namely LADOT, the city of LA. We're not going to be held back or held accountable to them because we're not going to take funds from them. So what a 501c4 is, we're able to endorse political candidates, and so we want to change the face.
So you can come out like that cockamamie Tea Party people and do all sorts of like stand-ups that Fox News will cover in the middle of nowhere?
No, because Because, the Tea Party is not that organized. We are light years ahead of that.
I don't know, man.
We're very sane.
Maybe you should be raiding the coffers of the Republican Party and seeing how well adjusted they are. That's.
Well, yeah. All we have to do is just set up a porno site, and we'll get their money, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Or what
strippers.
Is it? Gay
bondage strippers. Yeah.
What is it? Just a group of ex-politicians that are gay. I think that's not even that's a splinter group now off of the Republican Party. Anyway, it is Kill Radio. And we're all for every group out there. We're all for you not telling us what to do, or we telling you what to do, but you telling us how you want things to move. I personally think that it's like Groucho Marx. Any group that would have you as a member isn't really valid, right? It is Kill Radio, getting into polemics early in the morning here on Bike Talk.
It's an engineering problem.
So, Bike Side, last week you had a big rollout out at Bikerowave, as I'm trying to shake up the image here on the thing.
Yeah, so as Bike Side speaks, we had 7 speakers from our board of Bike Side. And we each spoke about the projects that we're most involved in. And we also had a congressional candidate, and Bill Rosendahl was also there. A congressional candidate was Marcy Winograd.
It's funny because Bill Rosenthal is part of the city council, and he's come out before in response to the bike culture here.
Yeah, well, he
him and a handful of people. I think he was even elected, or they had re-elections.
There's Koretz is supportive. I mean, we have some supportive council members, but we're always interfacing with them at the committee meetings behind the bar, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so we actually had him in the Bikerowave and put him on the spot. Asked some pointed questions. What really are you going to do for us? And I think it was great to have that venue to bring a politician into our culture, into our community, and really challenge him with questions. And so that's what Bike Side is. It's challenging the political system and the people that are running it, the voice of the people. Because they don't always voice what we want. They don't always do what we feel needs to be done. So.
Well, I think a lot of it rests with politicians sometimes. Everybody always thinks that they're not up for change, but sometimes they say, oh, well, we have to balance all of the options, and a big one has been safety. He says we want people to not only we look at all these issues not as traffic issues, but as safety issues. If we do go to a smaller street or something and reduce traffic, is that really the safe way to go? And I think they were always looking at protecting cars' interests as opposed to protecting people's interests. And we forget sometimes that cars are inanimate objects that we built a tremendous amount of infrastructure for, not only freeways, streets, stop signals. I mean, all these things. We insure our cars, we insure all this stuff, and yet they're 3,000-pound people that just eat gasoline. Gas, mind you, coming from oil that right now is leaking all over our planet.
Right. Do you imagine what would happen if all that oil in the Gulf was actually spilling on the streets and the freeways? People would be up in arms.
I think in a way it is. We are only seeing the tip of the problem here with offshore oil in the last week or two, but we're also seeing what kind of people are actually running this, what kind of infrastructure. I personally thought that after 2-3 days, somebody would say, okay, just plug the hole. And I'm sure that's what he told them 2 or 3 weeks ago. But now it's 4 weeks later, and they've done everything from, oh, well, we still have to get our money out. Let's just put this little sort of condom over it with a hole that we can still extract oil from.
You need to start stuffing the executives into that hole until it stops.
Anyway, we're going to sort of step back into bike culture and just give you an idea that a lot of what sort of purports to be things better for the city sometimes isn't better for all of the city. I'm thinking of how much money they're spending to expand the 405.
Yeah,
we worked it out. A black woman sidekick worked it out, and she figured out everybody could have a bike in Los Angeles. Not just a crappy bike, but a good road bike. If they took all that money and just put it into bike infrastructure as opposed to expanding the freeway. But I digress. We were voted out of that sort of thing, and everybody now has an extra lane on the 405.
Well,
I'm not
they're
getting
also
the benefit
expanding
of it.
the 101 and Conchita. I mean, but it takes people like on the bike side to really advocate government to provide for cycling services or infrastructure while they do that development.
Yeah, and we're not asking for something on the same level monetary-wise, but something that's only even 1 or 2% of the budget that would be sort of invested into car or automobile or truck infrastructure.
Well, it's really ridiculous that it's such a small amount, but there's just no push behind to do that.
So I ran into some of these things with Charlie Gandy on Wednesday at the ending event in Glendale's Bike Month. We'll be listening to that in a bit, but I'm joined in the studio now by a number of other guests, including, well, you know what? I'm going to let him introduce us. I know Dale from DOT is, no, not DOT, Caltrans is here. Oh my God, he's going to have my throat for this. And of course, the Boxes, who I haven't seen in, I think I saw her at the first kickoff thing in Glendale, which was Gil Garcetti talking about how women in Paris on bikes is sexy, and I even posed a question to him. Maybe I can even pull up that question in a few minutes. But for right now, we're gonna talk to these people in the studio about some of the goings on last night. As I mentioned earlier, I missed last night's. I was dropped from last night's Mid-Star Riders only because I was fixing a kid's bike. Came back on the Metro Lato, missed it. Is it? Yeah, I think it's on. Yeah, let's see. Is it on? Oh, see, I can still be a technician. I'm really proud of myself. It is Kill Radio, and it is DJ Chicken Leather taking the reins over here. You think of this studio as like being a reindeer, but it's really not. It's more like a dismembered puppet.
All right, we bumped it. The Bicycle Kitchen is fun. Bicycle Kitchen has bicycles. Bicycle Kitchen will make you smile. Bicycle Kitchen all the while.
That, of course, Evil Dub. I pushed the wrong button for the ID. It is Kill Radio, and I'm all by myself here, teching, talking, and, of course, having people up on charges. Yes, Jeremy, co-host.
Yeah, I was missing. Oh, we were just talking about what happened last night. But
well, you know what? Speaking of talking about last night,
no,
it sounds like wasn't that a movie with Rob Lowe and Demi Moore? It was a movie by Rob Lowe and Demi Moore. See? But see, that's about.
I wouldn't have mind if it was with Demi Moore. But
everybody forgets about that. If Demi Moore was out there doing her part for directing traffic, I'm sure things would have been better.
People would have stopped.
We can blame this all on Rob Lowe. Okay, so apparently, two things. The ride left early, from what I understand. The ride, it's supposed to leave 7:30. It left earlier. Anybody that came later, there was no kind of trail. There was one guy kind of pointing like, they went that way, but you'll never catch them. And I said, let me try. And I think I got to a point where I met two other people, and they said they were on a phone with their friends, and they had already gotten to 6 in La Brea. And I got up there and realized I couldn't meet anybody. Bumped into, this is how sick it is, I bumped into somebody else on the ride going, how far are you guys behind? They go, we're really far behind. We had a flat. We had to fix it. That was Brian, who's from the Flying Pigeon fame. And then at that point, I lost everybody, found a couple, Joel and I want to say Sagrina, and they were going, is it always this fast? And I go, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be telling people about community, telling people about what is critical mass. Does somebody want to jump here and say it? I thought it was about spreading community, taking back the streets from the automobile and doing it at a rate so as everybody doesn't get lost in some sort of, and this is no critical on Too Tall Jamal, in some sort of like wolf pack kind of pace.
Yeah, it's really supposed to put riders out on the street and to show
that we're having fun.
You belong. Well, that you belong on the street and that it's a viable option of transportation.
Absolutely.
And it's like supposed to be at rush hour. It's at 7:30 now, but during rush hour, where it starts on Wilshire, it's just full of cars not moving. They're going like 5 miles an hour. So a bicycle easily can go 12, and it shows you can get around the city way easier. No parking concerns or anything. But yeah, it has gotten really fast. It's become there's a fast part that just fluidly just goes along the left, and then there's a slow part that's on the right, and it's kind of like keeps going. But yeah, we kind of need to slow down, guys, because we want it to be family, we want it to be community, and that means riding 12 miles an hour on a 12 miles an hour.
That being said, nobody should be incarcerated, pushed off their bike, violently removed, ejected, so to speak, given a technical foul, if we could relate to the basketball subculture here in Los Angeles. Let's just say physical harm by anyone, to anyone, regardless if they're wearing a uniform or not, in my opinion, is not acceptable. And that being said, I'm going to open it up to our astute panel here in the studio that we sort of put together at the last minute. That, of course, as mentioned, Stephen Box, also of the bike side. Not the Darth Hummer that we were mentioning, but somewhere in between that, the bike side. Have you collected yourself? You can't let you see him sweat. That's the rule. His lovely wife Nancy, and of course Dale. Maybe Dale. I was at a kickoff event for Bike Week down at the Caltrans building, and I think I haven't played it yet, but we'll let people decide for themselves. But they were addressing things like ridership. It happened high noon on a Wednesday. Supported mysteriously by a lot of the bike community that come out there. But my question to you is Caltrans has always been a supporter of getting out there and basically sort of standing up for bike riders' rights. We still see you, and don't take this wrong, as the old guard still sort of holding up like, hey, those bike riders, they need some rights, they need some infrastructure too. You have to talk to the mic.
Absolutely. Caltrans does support bicycling as a legitimate mode of transportation, and we have policies in place to change our. I can't talk.
Yeah. Well, he's getting tongue-tied here.
Well, to Dale's credit,
but it's great.
DJ, over the last
I didn't see you all
Stephen
of Bike
Box.
Week, Stephen Box, and
well, you actually
I saw Dale.
That's because we were so busy at so many Bike Week events.
I don't believe you.
Really?
I didn't see you. I saw Incy at one Glendale event, and it's like Nick going, God, you must go all these events. And I said, no, I just picked the ones that you were going to go to.
We
and
spent Thursday at
there.
the LAPD headquarters at our cyclist LAPD task force
at the Beset
event.
Yes,
racking away on some of the issues that you addressed with regard to the freedom of cyclists to ride the streets of LA.
Wow.
And we continued working through the weekend. Bike Side was the conclusive event, I'd say, of Bike Week, and that was out at Biker Wave on Saturday night. But back to Dale.
And it goes without saying that, of course, being a bike event, it had to be slated against not one, not two, but about 3 or 4 other bike events on the same day. I'm
but
thinking
even more important than that is what happened the following week.
The Amgen event.
And back to Dale for a moment.
Yeah.
This past Thursday, there was a bike event that was a fairly significant event over at Caltrans, and it was the Caltrans District 7 Bicycle Advisory Committee.
Wow.
And there were actually 2 events that day. So you see, for some people, Bike Week lingers all year long. DJ.
Yes.
Yes.
And, I think I've heard that repeatedly. In fact, that was the central theme that Jen from the LACBC said to me. All these other people, it's like Bike Day is every day. Bike Week is every week. And yet we linger here in sort of sort of the malaise of how things work. Anyway, Dale, you were going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say absolutely. Yeah. Every day is a bike to work day for us, and we totally support bicycling at Caltrans and walking and riding transit. We don't only build highways. We do many other things besides build and maintain highways.
Yeah.
So we're the Department of Transportation.
Department of Transportation. Yes. Well, having said that, we have a minute here to play for you the event that went on high noon. This, of course, is all going to be self-explanatory.
Throughout the state that help us with
on
this,
BikeTalk.
In promoting bicycles for community purposes. We have a funding program that helps agencies develop bike routes and fund projects, including projects like Safe Routes to Schools as well, that helps oftentimes fund bicycling. Of course, I'm here. I'm the interim Chief Deputy Director for Caltrans at District 7. My commute today on my bicycle would be about 800 miles if I tried to do it today. But instead, I walked across the street. But I have ridden my bike when I'm up in Sacramento, particularly on this particular day. It not only helps people like myself with physical conditioning, but also in reducing air pollution, reducing congestion, making basically our inner cities and our commutes a more pleasant activity for all of us. With that, again, I just welcome all of you, and please partake in the different booths and enjoy yourselves today. Thank you.
You know, I see a racing jersey over here, and I know they're doing the tour to California, and it's not taking them more than 5 days to get down to LA.
I believe I have. Well, I don't know if that's the latest one. I have one from a previous year.
They don't call it latest; they call it vintage now.
Vintage, yeah. I have a more vintage one.
Yeah.
Is it vintage? Is it vintage? Is it just old? We don't know. It is Kill Radio. Caltrans doing their best to engage the public any way they can. Jerseys, what have you. Support, which is something that some agencies are doing more than others. Anyway, we also are going to get right now to the bike side and what they're doing. Jeremy, the event?
So, yeah, we were talking about Bike Side Speaks, and this will be an ongoing event where we present what programs we're working on to improve the environment for cyclists in LA.
Okay.
So what I was
and we're not talking about the air quality.
No,
but that comes into
kind
it
of,
too.
Yeah.
I mean, air quality tends to improve when you ride a bike. I notice, and the reason I say that, everybody says, "Oh, is this another tangent?" No. If I'm riding my bike, I'm reducing my carbon footprint, and I'm also reducing how much tonnage I'm putting into the atmosphere of CO2. And just like everybody else, everybody's going, "What does that have to do with the price of, rice in China or anything?" Well, if I'm reducing it, that's letting somebody else pollute. Maybe this is the offset. Maybe I'm somebody's offset, not only my own, but for somebody else that is driving all the time. I'm basically my own little personal carbon credit towards somebody else. And while I'm not being charted or paid for this or something, I'm making that personal choice to do it. So in that sense, perhaps we should get people thinking that it's not just always about paying to have forests, being a big oil conglomerate, making sure that nobody can come in and cut one tree because they have to feed their family and keeping people out. But maybe it's about you planting your own personal forest, maybe reducing your own little green footprint there.
Right. So we're trying to make it easier for people to make that change and get on a bike and get to work and school and the shopping mall. And that whole program is the Backbone Bikeway Network. And we're really pushing for bike infrastructure. This is general traffic infrastructure, pedestrian infrastructure on the major arterials. And, LA is just the city of the car. The car just dominates. And so for so long, things have been eroded. The sidewalks, the storefronts, the crosswalks, the bike lanes. I mean, we have the bike lane on Venice, and it's just eroding. So the bikeway, or the Backbone Bikeway Network, seeks to improve all these things and give cyclists their place on the street. And I think for people that are timid about, they're very timid about getting on a bike in LA because they perceive it as dangerous. And you know, we both know that, you know, cycling is actually safer than a car. You know, I don't need to preach to the choir.
I personally can't make cell phone calls. Well, I've tried to make cell phone calls while I drive my bike, but it's a full-time sort of sensory overload.
Yeah, it takes a lot of
You really have to address what you're doing on a bike. And in fact, I have a phrase now for motorists that drive one-handed and have the cell phone in the other hand. I call them, they're Vegas taught, you know, one-hand arm bandits, except instead of like pulling the slot machine, they're sort of waging a gambling war with my life.
Right. So the part of the Backbone Bikeway Network is educating drivers, taking some of these funds, federal funds, and you know, going through and educating the private drivers, the bus drivers, the services, the LA services. I mean, they're driving 2 and 3 ton trucks, and you know, and they brush a cyclist, and next thing you know, he's underneath the truck and in the ER or in a grave or something. So, you know, we're seeking to educate those people, but you know, signage is a part of this, showing that the cyclist has the right, and you know, even improving the pedestrians, because we just had a pedestrian hit and run on Melrose in La Cienega. I mean, it's dangerous out there for everybody, and we need to start providing for the most vulnerable users on foot and on bike. And you know, to get further into this education thing, the people that enforce all these laws that we have on the books and keep our our streets safe is the law enforcement, and particularly the LAPD. And so Bike Side has been pushing for that education, and on the Cyclist Task Force this past Thursday, we were presented the educational component that every single one of the officers in the LAPD has to take. They have to take a little test, and they actually have to watch this video and presentation.
Is this like a driving test? You know, I know when I took my driving exam, there was half a question about cyclists on there. Half a question out of the 10 or 15.
Well, this is like 20 questions on cycling.
20 questions.
Something like, yeah.
We're going to have to get a hold of that and give our listeners that test too.
Yeah, I had to take traffic school a few years back. You know, I get in a car and I think I'm on a bike. So,
it's funny you should say that. I think I ride or drive like an old man now. Well, yeah. I am an old man, but I before that wasn't riding like I was an old man. Now I kind of, because I'm on a bicycle and I know what to expect. I know I'm not making cell phone calls. I'm not doing things. I don't have the radio on. I got 2 hands locked in the 2 and 10 position. Is that right? They're both on the thing. They're not shifting. They're not doing anything. They're just there. And all I'm doing is looking to see where the next accident is and trying to avoid it. So I'm riding a little more defensively now, being on a bicycle.
The rise in
being in my car. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And the rise in hit and runs, and it's just so dangerous. And I think the economy collapse has just made everybody so crazy, needing to get somewhere.
Yeah.
In the stock market collapse, people are like stressed out. So yeah, definitely in the last few years.
Having said that, I think I've moved my car maybe twice in the last 2 months just to move it from one side of the street to the other side of the street because I can't afford the gasoline anymore.
Well, you gotta start it every month to keep the battery alive.
Just to avoid getting a ticket for street cleaning. Yeah. Anyway, that being said, maybe we should go to our other guests and ask them what were some of the other groups that were highlighted at Bike Side last week at the rollout event on Saturday. Incy?
Hey, can you hear? Yeah, okay, I'm here.
Absolutely, we can hear you.
All right.
More important, the audience is listening.
All right, good morning.
And we're going to get sued by THX. You watch right now.
Well, there were quite a big group of people representing Bike Side last week, and the topics that we covered were hit-and-run accidents, which Sarah Bond is after in terms of doing the research, getting on the cyclist LAPD task force, and lobbying the governmental agencies to make hit-and-run incidents bigger punishment so that people won't be so inclined to drive away, because they know that if they drive away and come back a couple hours later, it's less of a punishment than if they stay on the scene drunk or whatever that caused them to hit somebody. So Sarah Bond was speaking. I was speaking about the LA Greensters with Rebel Without a Car Productions, how they came to be and their last year's projects. Stephen Boggs was talking about the freedom of being in America, the Cyclist Bill of Rights.
That just sounds like Pinko talk there. So there's 3 groups right there.
Right.
How many else were there?
Bill Rosendahl was there as well. Mihai Petu was talking about the LA's Best Bike Plan, which the Bike Working Group has created.
Okay.
LA Greenster, Jeremy Grant was talking about the Backbone Bikeway Network.
Scorecard, that's 4 or 5 groups now, right? 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think it was 6 speakers total, and Rosendahl and Marcy Winograd, who is running for Congress in district. What district is it?
40,
do you know?
26 or 46? 36. I knew it was
36.
one of the 6s, yeah.
And so if she endorsed the Cyclist Bill of Rights, she came to Bikerwave twice to speak, and she came
I think
to
I've
Bike
actually ran into her at the 350 event where she talked about how we always tend to look at just embracing this global warming, or not embracing it, but trying to fix the greenhouse effect and all these things. But she said, look at the oil machine that is the war.
Yeah.
She says, look how much oil or just the infrastructure or all this fuel and dollars and everything is going into war that could be going into bettering our quality of life, as opposed to just sort of getting out there and sort of propagating an atmosphere of like oppression.
Right.
Or
I mean, she
subjugation.
supports bringing back the jobs here and green jobs, as opposed
Absolutely.
to taking them to outside countries to support the war. So, yeah, if you're in the 36th district, vote for her. That's on June 8th.
So being a 501c4, you're able to actually have some sort of pathway towards.
BikeSide is the only 501c4 bike lobby organization. 501c4 means that we can lobby the governmental agencies and we can endorse political candidates. And so that's the biggest goal of BikeSide, to really work on policy and lobby governmental agencies. When there is elections, we want to push those who are sustainable, who support cyclists, as opposed to just blindly supporting somebody whose name we're familiar with. So that's what
a catchy middle name in my book when I used to vote. If it had a catchy middle name, it was like, Rock or Sid, we'd always vote for him.
Well, see, now you don't have to worry about that. You just go to BikeSide, and whoever BikeSide endorses, you know that they're the good people.
Now, having said that, there is going to be an election in June, and we should really talk about this as they fight here over the leftover Cliff Bars from Bike Week. If anything, they fed us Cliff Bar, and we're going to talk about them in a minute too. But I really have to say that you have to look at your vote not as a commodity anymore, but as something that it's not even a might, it will have an effect. And while you're thinking, oh, who am I going to vote for that's going to give me, you really have to look at it differently. You have to look at, like, what kind of issues is this person going to start representing when he gets elected? What kind of position is this person going to have when they get to a point of power? Is it going to corrupt them or something? It goes back to those old rules.
And that was so great about BikeSide Speaks, because we got to invite the people who we can directly ask questions, the politicians, what do they stand for, as opposed to just what the newspapers say, or even what they're pushing, because oftentimes they're pushing ideas that they don't know that people might not care about, or they don't go into the niche groups. So BikeSide, as it is for a niche idea in that sense, we can directly ask questions, and they will then be able to answer them, whereas they might not get that question when they talk at Fox News or when they're doing their campaigning, because they don't realize that there is actually more people than they think who are lobbying or who want sustainable transportation solutions, who want cleaner air. So they're addressing very big, broad ideas as opposed to the smaller niche ideas, even though they're not niche because it is on everybody's mind. I'm in the entertainment industry, and there is more actors than I even thought who are car-free or who want to become car-free, who take public transportation, who want to ride a bike, but they're afraid to, or they don't know the law, the rules. And, you know, us talking about the LAPD brutalizing people on bikes, that scares people off too, because if you're a woman, you don't want to be ending up stranded on the street being pulled over by a cop in a dark neighborhood.
I think this was something that Black Woman Sidekick, my cohort in crime on Talk is Still Cheap, the other Kill Radio show that's sort of been talking about bikes now for about 5 or 6 years, she mentioned that the indicator group for knowing that the streets are safe are women and small children. And they said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, when the streets are safe enough to have your kids go off to soccer practice without you having to chaperone them or be with them, or your wife can run down to the store or to the market, then you know that it's pretty safe. The streets are actually acceptable, because that supposedly is the meekest of the riders out there. I happen to believe that I want to be part of that group too, because sometimes I don't feel safe, and as executed, as demonstrated last night by some of the people that were on the critical mass. Now, we sort of defined what critical mass we thought it used to be, and how we're not seeing a lot of the old guard, and then we talked about meeting some of the old guard later in the evening. But I'm just wondering, is it just critical mass that we're seeing this sort of law enforcement? I mean, do they get bothered by the fact that they see groups in mass? I mean, would they do the same thing to drivers if they were in a traffic jam? Would they start pulling people out of their cars and throwing them on the ground? If the 405 was blocked up, or the 110 was just like, after a Laker game was just so crowded, it's like, wait a second, we got to do something about this traffic jam. Let's just pull them out of their cars.
Well, the police officers.
Maybe they're Boston fans. Okay, see how ridiculous it sounds?
They're not just doing this to protest rides such as critical mass, but just like, let's get together and have dinner somewhere or go to a bar, or, you know, it's horrible. And you just have, you know, this very uneducated police officers doing this and driving their cars into groups of cyclists. I mean, as little as a dozen cyclists. It's just ridiculous.
Yes. So I have to be honest. It sounds like there's a double standard here. There's more, and I know I live in Los Angeles. I know that there's car events. Some car events are actually good. I emceed. I was the infrastructure behind a Kiwanis event that was a car show in Johnny Carson Park a while back. And while they raised a lot of money, and it was all about the nicest car and stuff, a lot of these cars aren't driven a lot. They're just sort of like showgirls. They're kind of dressed up and everything, but you really won't want to take the showgirl to work every day. Or maybe I should stand aside. Maybe you want to take the showgirl to work every day, but she's not going to last. The same thing is true of some of our vehicles out there, some of our roads and stuff. But perhaps we should address other forms of transportation, other things that people are doing to get people around safely. Yes, Mr. Box.
You know, you kind of touch on an interesting topic. And I think that there's
just one. I pride myself on being like a select button on an old TV set that just you can't really dial it into the station. But anyway, go ahead, Mr. Box.
I think that there's a base issue here that's a little more significant than show cars versus commuter cars versus bikes, and that is quite simply our freedom to move. And I think that's what we're addressing, is that people have the right to move. And when one group gets in the way of another group, then we start to have an issue, a civil rights issue, if you will, because it's one of our most basic freedoms. So we touched on this on Thursday at the LAPD headquarters, and I think we made some significant progress, but as you can see last night, there's a long way to go. And on Bike Side Speaks, this was one of the topics, the Cyclist Bill of Rights, which I know isn't first and foremost on people's minds. Check my air, check my brakes, check my cables, check my Cyclist Bill of Rights when they head out for a ride. But as you can see last night, something as basic as our First and Fourth Amendment comes into play when people that gather in the public space encounter police officers that are unaware of, one, our right to participate in, there you go, to get out in the public space. But number two, the LAPD has specifically addressed people's right to gather, and there's a process.
I think there's an amendment for that. Isn't that the 14th Amendment?
Well, very close. But the LAPD even has a process for addressing a gathering that they have concerns about, and that includes somebody stepping up and identifying themselves as in charge and representing the LAPD. That person then has to declare the assembly an illegal assembly. That person has to then give them very specific instructions on how to disperse the crowd, which direction to go. So, for example, last night at Hollywood and Highland, the appropriate process would have been for Officer Barney Fife to stand in the intersection and say, "This is Officer Barney Fife. I'm from the LAPD, and I'm declaring this an illegal assembly." So if all of you cyclists who are riding through the intersection east could continue riding through the intersection east, this crowd will then disperse, which is essentially what would happen. And instead, tackling cyclists or using batons on wheels or pushing cyclists is an odd response, if you will, if the objective is to clear the streets and in this particular, or disperse a crowd. But in this particular case, the whole notion that a bunch of cyclists warrants a helicopter and squad cars up the wazoo is just shocking, and it demonstrates that in many cases the local police stations don't know what to do with all these cyclists. And that's what we're trying to address is it really doesn't need to be addressed like this. In other words, it's simply cyclists going this, whether it's a large crowd like last night or, as Jeremy said, a few folks going to get something to eat. There's no need to panic when you see a couple of cyclists start to turn into a larger group, like on Sunset Boulevard every morning on the commute downtown.
I'm remembering a couple things that might be of use here. Doug Adams wrote a book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and on the front of the book was "Don't panic." That sounds like the first sane thing that anybody said to him, or anyone said to me, but we don't have to delve into fiction. You brought up the point of civil rights, and maybe it is a right to travel, a right to movement. We were discussing earlier about the bus riders striking against higher wages, and they're still down there on their hunger strike right across from Union Station. Their rollout was in the middle of Bike Week, of course, but they too have expressed their right to move. I think that right is essential to everyone. The idea of getting from point A to B and being able to make that return trip without having to risk life or limb from someone else or bodily harm from your fellow vehicle. That might be the essence of freedom, but these are freedoms that we need to exercise. Otherwise, we'll stagnate. Anyway. That being said, somebody jump in. Quick. Get off your phone. Quit eating.
Well, that being said, one of the simplest freedoms we have is the freedom to move, and it's the first one that gets deprived when you do something wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
They restrict your ability to move. And one of the simplest things we can do to change the world is to get out there and move.
Right.
So by riding your bike, you're changing the world.
Maybe that's what we should really be embracing at critical mass instead of the idea of going fast and losing everybody, and it becomes an alley cat or something else.
Well, from what I hear, I wanted to say that Cyclastro out there says that they didn't leave early; they actually left after 7:30. So, So maybe your watch is. Maybe you should.
My
check
watch,
your watch
stopped. Yes.
Maybe you should wind it up if you're.
Actually, I checked Metro's watch. Maybe Metro's watch was
there
off.
You go. That's your problem. They're always running behind. So, but there was, critical mass usually. Well, not usually. I don't know. They get split up in the group sometimes, and so you get stuck in the good group or the bad group. And when you get stuck in the bad group, it involves police cars and all these rights infringements. But then there's part of the good group that just totally misses that, and they have just a wonderful ride. And from what I hear, and from what I've experienced, I was there last month, is that the good group is stopping at lights, is just being intelligent about their interaction in traffic, and there's some elements, I'm not really criticizing, but that kind of ignore safety and traffic issues and just kind of just woohoo out there to maybe cause trouble. And every sort of event out there, from the football game, baseball game, to just being in Griffith Park, can attract that element of the crowd.
Yeah,
and it's hard to control.
I think sometimes everybody thinks that we're anti-police or anti. We tend to, as a bike community, sometimes say, well, that's them, that's the fixie crowd, that's this crowd. But on critical mass, I have to be honest, there was, in the past, a lot of sort of, you've got a BMX and you're going to do this whole ride on 20-inch wheels. Wow, that's really great. And then you talk about things about that are not just related to that. I used to go to these rides and people wouldn't talk to me about my bike or whatever. They talk about, like, hey, I was at that meeting last week. Wow, what really went on? And we talk about things like that. And it's not all just like what gear ratio you're running, what kind of tires do you have on your bike. They really were concerned as a safety issue about these questions or stuff. But what I sense is the fact, as you say, the red spreads out and you get in one group or the other group. It's not so much that you've sort of ridden it off and become a mob or anything. It's like you're still individuals within this group that can still voice an opinion. I love the idea when somebody says, who's the leader of this group, when they come up trying to get somebody in charge so they can sort of dispense their logic to the person in charge, and it will then get sort of filtrated to the other people. I'm saying it's not like a military campaign. We're just riding bikes because we like to ride bikes. And it's so hard for people to wrap their head around that. They always say, what are you guys riding for? Are you riding for a cause or something? And I said, well, maybe we're riding for the cause that we have the freedom still to ride a bicycle on the street, sort of semi-balanced with other things out there.
Yeah, well, yeah, trying to normalize the bicycle as transportation is a really critical part of critical mass.
Yeah,
and you're speaking about individuals out there, and from my history with this, I just think we don't need to just dispense of critical mass or stop going. We just need more responsible individuals out there that will take charge when the poop hits the fan. And I mean, we're in LA, like we're all concerned about our own lives, and it just takes someone to like stop and take some time and maybe educate the motorist, or be responsible, and let the other 80 or 90% of the mass just go along and pass. I mean, when I see a driver trying to push through the traffic, I try to stop and let them know, like, look, I'll help you through this. You don't need to be running anybody over, and it's really hard to calm these people down.
Sometimes it is daunting to see you're driving along with your girlfriend, and the next thing you know, there's 50 riders around you. But I always like to tell people it's a bicycle. You remember bicycles. They were fun when you were a kid. They can still be fun, and we're not here to hurt you. We're just here to share the street with you. Everybody always thinks that it's like, wow, we're traffic too. We are traffic. And it's like, what do you think? Traffic in a car that's belligerent is any different from traffic on a bicycle that's belligerent? I said, you really have to transcend that and show people it's not going to be the male, let's say the testosterone-filled person that's going to do this. I'm going to catch the phone.
Play telephone.
You can continue on this thought. Here's the topic: women on bikes.
Oh, women. You want me to talk about women on bikes, huh?
They're sexy.
Oh, let's have Auntie talk about. She's a woman on a bike.
Yeah, but what do men think of women on bikes?
First thought, I think it's great. My girlfriend rides, and it's worrisome for me because like men are very protective, and I know women don't want to be worried about, but it is worrisome.
Well, I was trying to get to the point that it's not always males that are going to really sell, and I'm saying maybe brand is the word, this bike movement. It's going to be beautiful women on a bicycle that are doing that. Not to be sexist, I think if you make it safe for women, and like I was saying, kids or something, you make it safe for everybody. With that in mind,
good.
We have on the phone Alex. Alex, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
And I think everybody else can hear you now, too, in here. What's going on, man? This is Alex Thompson of the other bike side. Which one would this be? Would this be, if we were comparing to Star Wars, would he be like a Jedi, or would he be like one of the kids on Alderaan, or would he be Backwater Tatooine? I mean, what are you, Alex? Are you a Wookiee?
Dude, you're a nerd. I don't know what I am, but you're a Star Wars nerd.
No, we were talking about bike side being like you know. Hold on. NT is saying something here. We're going to get past her the phone because that's the only way she can hear you.
Alex is the founder of Bikeside, as well as also on the board of the Mar Vista Community Council, and he's also on the board of Bikerwave, if I'm correct.
Yeah, all that stuff.
So basically, what you're saying is you don't have a personal life to go see a movie on Tuesdays. Right? Everybody thinks that
I do for you.
Well, no, but see, this is the point. It's like we really, I myself, there's a handful of people in Los Angeles that are devoted to the issues of making it safer, making it more palatable for people. I mean, everybody says, why do you stick around and fix bikes for no pay? Why do you stick around and help people out? I watched Devin from TV Bikes, I'll just give you an example, yesterday, put a brake on somebody's bike. The kid had no money, but what do? Do you let the kid out on the street with no bikes after he's come to your shop? I mean, I'm sure there's legal ramifications, but for us it's more about, you know, I'm not making any money, but I want to make it safer, even if it's just putting a brake on somebody's bike. This is pretty much putting the brake on how law enforcement looks at these issues. I mean, we're sort of like, I hate to say it, but we're like the sort of civil rights leaders that are going, hey man, these are things that we really believe are important to not only our own safety, but maybe other people's safety. Who's to say that when you throw somebody off a bike, it's not going to hit a pedestrian or, God forbid, another car or something?
So you guys have been talking about LACM and what happened last night?
Yeah. Were you on it?
I wasn't, no.
Oh, well, you know, I think that that's part of it, too. I think maybe we should get some old guard to come out and be on the rides. I try to make the rides only to show that not so much to legitimize it, but whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah,
you were going to say something.
I mean, I used to do LACM religiously, and I don't know, I used to organize a bunch of these rides, but I still have the time lately. That's the main reason I wasn't on it, you know. But I saw the video. Did you guys see the video? Did you see the video, Chicken Leather?
No. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, people that are saying this guy, the cop was out of line, and I would say more generally the cops, plural, were out of line. I mean, it looks like they tackled this cameraman and they didn't give him an instruction to comply with anything before they did it, so they just tackled him, which is not appropriate. There's no reason that he needed to be subdued without talking to him first, you know?
Okay, everybody's on their iPhone and we're trying to get it up on YouTube. Here's Stephen. He's saying something about conflicted. Yeah, the interesting thing about the video, at one point there was one cop saying get down and another cop saying get up, and sounded like
it's like a funk song.
Yeah,
you know?
So is that bad
get down, get up. Yeah.
And
the camera's lying on the ground, you can see one of the nightsticks bobbling as the cop walked across the...
Yeah, well, they didn't give him any instructions before they tackled him, right?
Yeah.
So that's a problem right there. And there was a little petulant kick that the one cop, what did he do? He tried to kick a wheel or something? Somebody should tell him that's going to hurt your foot. But
well, in an effort to be fair and let people on our airwaves decide for themselves, we have the audio right now from the YouTube. We're going to put you on hold for half a second, Alex, and play it for us here.
Here we go.
Here we go. Kill Radio. Playing the audio.
You run out and try to hit somebody again. Whoa. Hey, why don't you run out? Hey, what the fuck was that for? Yeah, right. Get up, get up. Get up, get down, get up! What'd I do? What'd I do? What'd I do? What'd I do? What'd I do?
So, apparently, the cameraman was sort of pulled down. This seems very familiar. When I was down at the Mayday thing, I was sort of cited, and because I had a camera, I was sort of targeted right away.
Yeah.
So there's apparently 302 views of this already.
It's got a lot of comments there.
There is a tremendous amount of comment. It's Manuel Dog that did this last night. You can search it at Hollywood Cops Attack Bike Riders on YouTube, and that's our thing. We're going to try and see if we're technically savvy enough to put a link on our page to get to it. As we say that, we're going to read some of the comments here, but Alex, your view or your opinion right now, just from reading this and seeing this.
That we really need to put together a complete picture of what happened here from the cyclist perspective. So anybody that was involved, anybody that saw what was involved, if you could write me at alexcthompson@gmail.com, that would be great, because we really need to understand what happened from our point of view. And then going forward, I don't know. I mean, we have this improving relationship with LAPD, but to say that without any qualification is kind of oversimplifying it. I mean, we're sort of like at the gates of Troy, and we have this guy that we're talking to on the side of the wall, and we're cool with them. But like the rest of LAPD, we don't necessarily have a relationship with.
Yeah. And
so we need, LAPD is going to have to, tough love. They have to come out and explain what happened and tell us why, why was this cyclist being cuffed? Let's start with that. I don't see a light anywhere. LAPD acknowledged that multiple cyclists can ride side by side in a lane, so there doesn't appear to be any violation with the stream of cyclists going by. So why is that cyclist being cuffed? We got to know that.
Yeah.
And we got to know, what justification there was for tackling or whatever it was they did to this cameraman. We got to know why.
It sounds like all he was doing was shooting them doing something wrong. And if they stop that, somebody told me that it's not illegal to shoot somebody on the street, but if you obstruct somebody shooting that on the street, you're liable to prosecution then because you're obstructing justice.
Well, and this is like not the first time this has happened. I mean, I've got personal experience where they were cuffing cyclists on a crank mob. They cuffed like 3 cyclists, and they gave them all bogus citations, which they all, which LAPD rescinded later under pressure. And when I was shooting, I wasn't shooting video, I was shooting stills, but I was shooting all these stills. And at some point, they grabbed me and threw me in cuffs and gave me a bogus citation.
I wonder if that's their way to sort of stem the tide of free information. One thing that I want to mention to you. Go ahead.
Let me respond to that, because I was at the Office of the Inspector General, which is they kind of oversee the complaint process and disciplinary process for LAPD, and they're the one part of LAPD that's independent of the chief of police. And I was there making a complaint about this crank mob incident, which was about a year ago. And the woman taking my complaint said, without us suggesting or soliciting this comment, she said, in all likelihood, they put you in cuffs and decided to cite you because you were taking photos. Yeah. So there's an understanding within LAPD that happens,
Yes. You brought up one other point that I think that is really relevant to this. We're seeing all the cyclists go by, and this is probably after the fact that they've tackled somebody. We didn't get the initial thing where they tried to stop traffic or did the 3 or 4 points that Stephen pointed out by saying this is identifying themselves, identifying what they wanted, identifying their things. And I'm wondering if at some point it's not so much a lost cause, but it's like, and I don't want to say fruitless, but if you really want to stop somebody, you say, please pull over on a bullhorn or something, or you try to express it and say you're not pulling somebody over or something. They would never do this to traffic. I mean, car traffic. Yet they do it to bicycle traffic.
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
We have this LAPD cyclist task force, and not the last meeting, which was a week ago, but the meeting before that, like 5 or 6 weeks ago. We had a long argument about handcuffing cyclists and when it's appropriate to handcuff people and when it's not. And there was pretty intense back and forth on it. It was probably a 20 or 30-minute discussion that was pretty heated. And one thing that came out in that discussion is that LAPD has a no pursue policy for certain kinds of violations. So if they pull you over for making an illegal left turn or making an illegal U-turn or running a red light, and they're ticketing you and you gun it, this is if you're driving, and you gun it, you take off, right? Yeah. They have a no pursue policy for things like that. So they don't pursue you. Yeah, because remember back in the 80s and 90s when there were all these car chases, and you'd always see these things on TV from the helicopter's point of view, and then they'd kill like 8 people running into stuff. And so LAPD decided no pursue policy for minor stuff. And that then begs the question, well, then why are you cuffing cyclists? If there's no concern that they're going to run away, and they express that one of the reasons they cuff cyclists is because they can flee, well, why are you cuffing them if you're giving them citations for which you have a no pursue policy? So why the cuffing? Why knocking people off bikes for things you're unwilling to pursue them for? It doesn't make sense to knock people off bikes or to tackle them or to cuff them when you consider the violation minor enough that you wouldn't pursue a motorist who did the same thing. So it all looks like hypocrisy to me, and I think that these cops, I think they were upset. And they acted out, and that's totally inappropriate. They paid a lot of money not to do that. So it's just unprofessional. I'm
wondering,
it's bullshit.
Steven's going to pop in here for a minute, and I'm going to leave you with this, just maybe you both can express it. I'm wondering if when you're in a position like this, when obviously there's a lot of adrenaline going, and you're making these choices, if indeed you can't just sort of get some sanity to this, even on the bike end of this or the bike side of this, and say, wait a second, guys, we'll stop, we'll talk to you, we'll have a conversation. Maybe we can talk it out instead of it coming to fisticuffs. And I'm going to pass it to Stephen.
2 comments. The first one is, well, actually 3 comments. The first one is, can you pass me the phone? Oh, sorry. And the second comment is, what we're seeing last night, and then again at Crank Mob, and then again at the Critical Mass downtown, is that the cyclists who end up in the incident, if you will, tend to be the stragglers who ride up on the incident. So the fact that a cyclist may have ignored an instruction or blown a light and gotten the attention of the police doesn't justify them then acting out at a cyclist who's arriving at the scene.
Right.
Because there you're judging the individual based on the actions of a group. And keep in mind, we've already addressed the rights of people to ride without being judged as a group. And so nowhere else would you see a police officer see a speeding Pinto and then run the next Pinto that comes up the hill off the road, because after all, it's a Pinto. And so this is bias-based policing that is one of the reasons we were, down at the Inspector General's office in the first place, in the Police Commission, several months ago.
So the issue here is somewhat repetitive, if you will, that there isn't a policy, and you're seeing people striking out at those that fall into the same category. And I think that's one of the larger issues here. That's a systemic issue for the LAPD. Another thing is, what do you do when this happens? And for example, I called the watch commander last night, who was on duty during this incident, and he hung up on me 4 times. And the thing is that you must pursue relentlessly. And so I've been on the phone again with...
Maybe it was a bad connection.
Yeah, well, it's entirely possible. We're in the middle of a budget crisis. It's entirely possible that they're using old telephonic equipment that they bought from Kill Radio when Kill Radio upgraded to its incredible penthouse-style digs here.
We got this phone. It's red, and so we think it was one of the old red phones from the Kremlin.
But the important thing is that you've got to speak up, or you don't have any rights. And so the rights go to those who actually claim them. You know, if I might segue, this Tuesday at the Bicycle Advisory Committee for the City of Los Angeles, Jeremy will be presenting the Backbone Bikeway Network, which is an opportunity for the LAPD to put some focus where it belongs on the arterials to support cyclists as opposed to antagonize or run them off the road. But Sergeant Krumer, who's the liaison for the Cyclist LAPD Task Force, will also be there. And this would be an interesting time for people to address their representatives, the Bicycle Advisory Committee, which purportedly represents the cycling community. There's 1 for every council member, and there's 4 for the mayor. And to beseech them to actually step up and represent the cycling community with what we call leadership or fellowship or those that are at City Hall. But there's an opportunity there for us to address this in a few different ways. So that's Tuesday night at 7 o'clock at the Hollywood City Hall, which is 6501 Fountain Avenue. And that's Tuesday night, Los Angeles Bicycle Advisory Committee, where I assure you that this particular topic will be coming up. But whether it comes up or not, what time? 7 o'clock. Okay. We couldn't afford cue cards, but we have DJ Chicken Leather here, which is almost as good because he comes and sits on your lap and reminds you to say things, which is kind of a scary experience, almost as scary as being knocked off your bike by a police officer with a baton. Okay.
I'm Kush here.
Yeah. That was his middle name, as a matter of fact. DJ Cushier, Chicken Leather. And so that's Tuesday night. I'd love to see you all out there.
So, for those who don't know, who aren't a million years old, a Pinto is a kind of car.
Pinto. Wasn't that the name of the guy in
it's also a kind of bean.
In Animal House? Car. Wasn't Pinto the guy? One of the guys in Animal? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. It sounds like it's derived from 5, like its Latin root would be 5 or something, right? Pinto. I don't know, 5
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But I think Stephen's point was really well taken that, look, the people that are getting cuffed and ticketed and cited, a lot of times they're not the people that drew the attention, and so it's kind of a form of collective punishment when you start punishing the riders because you couldn't catch the other guy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's even better illustrated by the fact that this cameraman got tackled.
Yeah.
What was he doing other than documenting an incident? And that's the same thing that happened to me on Crank Mob, and I saw it on Santa Monica Critical Mass years ago, too, which is a different law enforcement agency, and I got ticketed for taking photos.
Yeah.
My friend Gary got given a ticket for taking photos at Santa Monica Critical Mass. And so pro photographers getting tickets for taking photos. So it's a problem. And I go back to there's this little kick when you see the video. It's just this little petulant kick. The officer just kind of kicked at a guy's wheel as he was going by.
Yeah.
Now, was that assault? I don't know. Is it completely inappropriate? Yeah. Is it like a childish thing to do when you're supposed to be in a position of authority where you act just 100% civilly and rationally? No, it's like, to me, if I had the capacity to fire people, I'd fire somebody for that because it's symptomatic of being childish.
Yeah, there's
absolutely not okay.
You never do that to a car passing by. Why do you do it to a bicycle? I mean, are you really trying to inflict crimes or something? I mean, why didn't he just get a bicycle pump and pull the old breaking away move? If he really wanted to stop it, maybe he wasn't Italian. Who knows? But
well, you don't know that he wasn't Italian.
But look,
could have been Italian.
Yeah, all comic notions aside and everything, this is a serious issue. There have been so many blogs online relating to this and also to recourse. A lot of people are saying lawsuits and stuff. Money is great to pay for your physical, for your medical bills, for your bicycle, for your anguish and stuff. But I think there has to be an address to the fact that it's like this is continuing to happen, and it's systemic within the department. I mean, when at the rollout, everybody addressed back about all sorts of issues and stuff. One of the issues I said is, are you guys going to stop treating bicycles like toys and sort of respect the fact that, if these were cars being stolen off the street, you'd have a task force to stop car theft. Why don't you have a task force to stop bike theft? And he says, we have arrests all the time. And it's like, that's different from having somebody come out and saying, look, we're not going to tolerate this or something. There doesn't seem to be that strong will. And I know Chief Beck does ride. He rides recreationally. Maybe he should address the fact that some people can't afford the recreation and they have to work all the time, like myself, and that my bicycle is not just something that's a toy. It's my way of life now. It's more than that. It's transcended to being not an obsession, but my right and my movement. So anyway, having said that,
back to what you said about lawsuits, Chicken Letter. I remember, I'm going to steal Steven's story. Steven was telling me about somebody who he was talking to, who is a serious heavy hitter in activism in other areas, not bikes. And Steven was talking to him about the Griffith Park Festival of Lights and how they weren't letting bikes ride in it.
Right.
And the guy said, he just says to Steven, one word, litigate. Yeah. I mean, it may be getting to that point where there needs to be litigation because the city responds to litigation. And so following up on that, and then I got to go for a run. If you saw this thing, if you were part of this thing, email me at alexcthompson@gmail.com or email somebody you know from Bikeside.
There's a lot of comments with YouTube, and we're going to get to a few of the taste your morsels in a minute.
Yeah, let's put together a picture of what happened. So, thanks for having me on.
Email is more productive, and we're gonna let you finish, Alex.
I'm done.
Okay.
So, who do you want to contact?
Okay, so you heard Alex's email there, and are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. Once more, because I'm really slow writing this down.
Okay, it's alexcthompson@gmail.com, and that's the old crazy Anglo-Saxon spelling of Thompson, which is THOMPSON. So ALEXCTHOMPSON@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you, and we'll put together a picture of what happened, and then we'll activate. So, and if you want to come out on Tuesday, that's a good place to have a face-to-face with a guy who's got a serious clout in the department when it comes to cycling, and you can be heard. All right.
Excellent. Good to hear from you. Have a good one. Hey, as important as great as it is to comment on the blogs, it doesn't resonate at the police headquarters.
You got to go in person.
That's us talking to each other, and that's with handles that no one can follow up on. So it's noise. It's many things, but it isn't letting the LAPD know what's going on, and it's not initiating a complaint. And that's what it's really important. If anyone's out there that was there last night that was involved in any of these incidents and picked up one of the tickets, a set of handcuffs, a little bit of asphalt, we need to hear from you, and we need to have you on Tuesday night at the LABAC.
All right, late
so email Alex. All right, Alex, we'll talk to you. So if you unload your comments online and feel better, you need to know that nothing has changed other than we're feeling better. And if we're going to change things, we need to actually get to LAPD, top brass, and make it happen. Thanks, Alex. We're going to get back to the mics here in the studio. It is Kill Radio, and if you'd like to call in, it's 213-252-0998. We're going to get back to the studio mics here, and you'll notice the difference in quality.
Yes. Well, anyway, quite a comment there. And it is Bike Talk we've been talking about the incidents last night at Critical Mass. Just to restate, a number of people pushed from their bikes as the LAPD were trying to stop them. What for? We can only imagine. And having said that, I'm going to let my guests here in the studio, Jeremy, take it for a few minutes while I answer the phone.
So as Stephen and Alex said, email is the best way to get our message across. You can collate these, and also coming to the BAC, the Bicycle Advisory Committee, on Tuesday at 7 at Hollywood City Hall is the best way. But you could also add this incident to LABikeMap.com as a harassment issue. You've been harassed as a cyclist by the LA Police Department. Report it on the LABikePlan.com. It's very easy, and it'll show up. So.
We have somebody on the line here. And who am I talking to?
This is Raquel and Matt Speed.
Uh-huh. And apparently you were on the ride last night?
Yeah, we were at LACM.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that ride was interesting, and the way the cops treated everybody was way uncalled for.
Okay. Just to sort of let people know, where were you in terms of the ride?
We did the whole ride.
Uh-huh.
It was all right, you know. We didn't really get hassled through till like the end, you would say, right? So we got to Hollywood. When we got to Hollywood, they started tackling people. They were kicking people's bikes. At one point, we saw a cop shove his baton into somebody's back wheel, forcing him to fly off his bike, then pick him up off the ground and slam him onto a car.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it is a breaking away move. Wow, that's pretty horrible. So was there anything that sort of perpetrated this whole thing? Did a bike rider throw something at a police officer? Did they?
I can say I never saw anybody.
All the lights were green, and they just blocked the whole intersection.
Yeah, when we saw this happen, the light was green, and they were blocking the intersection.
Okay, I'm hearing from somebody in the studio. They're asking about what were people on bikes doing? Were they going in a quote unquote circle, or were they?
So at this point, we weren't in any circle. We were just north of Hollywood Boulevard.
Uh huh.
And we were just leaving, trying to get towards the People's Ride, and lights green, and like they were just it was it was quite a sight to see.
They were trying to round everybody up.
They were trying to round them up, but like people weren't throwing things at the cops, or there's a couple of kids that yell things, and that's something kids do, but really you shouldn't tackle someone to the ground for yelling.
Okay, now two things. How were you treated by bystanders on the street that see you riding your bike? Like other people in vehicles and other people on the street?
They were being supportive and, like cheering or, waving or smiling.
Yeah.
Taking pictures. They didn't seem angry at all.
Wait, when you talk about Hollywood, do you remember what street it was exactly on Hollywood Boulevard?
Ooh, what was that street called?
Right above Highland.
It was right above Hollywood. What's that next? That's that next street.
Okay. Somebody here is identifying it as Hollywood Highland. Is that near?
Yeah, we were past Hollywood and Highland. We had gone down. It was before Vine, but
so west of there you were traveling. So you were traveling eastbound.
Yeah, we were traveling eastbound.
Yeah. Well, that gives us an idea that you were going to the other ride.
Yeah. We didn't really get messed with until we got back into Hollywood.
Well, when you say messed with, what other municipalities had you passed through?
Cops incidents. They started at Hollywood and Highland and continued for like the next 4.5 blocks, and then everybody scattered.
Really?
One cop on a bike tipped over at the intersection, and then everybody kind of laughed at him.
Now, that's funny that you say everybody scattered. I remember being pulled over a couple times with police, and just out of the idea that I like to ride with people, and I also believe that there has to be some sort of support. When somebody stops a bike rider, I go back, and it's like I've been met a number of times with either criticism or, why are you here? I'll arrest you too. And I'm going, but I'm just observing you doing your duty, officer. And in fact, I've said that. Sometimes I've filmed it. and even asked the officer, I said, is your bright light supposed to impair my camera angle? Do you not want me to film this? And why don't you just ask me not to film it instead of ruining the camera angle? People here in the studio are now sort of chiming in on their own, but I'm wondering, as a spectator last night, did you have any sort of fear for your own safety?
Yeah.
How fast did you go home last night?
I broke up around 11 o'clock, right after everything kind of happened, settled down.
So you didn't go on the ride afterwards, I take it?
No. Yeah, we had enough fun on LACM too.
Well, your idea of fun is definitely different from.
Well, that I'm not.
FUN, yes. But
after that, I was done for the night. I from what I understand, it just continued later on.
Now, just to sort of paint the picture, how many people were on last night's Critical Mass? Conservatively.
200?
A couple hundred people. Wow.
A couple hundred people. Maybe a little bit more.
And some were riding fast, I bet. How was it?
Faster than any other ride, 12 to 15.
Okay. And what other parts of town? I know you left going.
We went over.
Westward.
Remember through Robertson and Olympic?
Okay.
Remember we went farther south, closer to, I don't remember the name of the street. I need to learn LA better.
That's okay. This is a good way to learn Los Angeles, too.
Yeah, I only lived here for 10 years, right?
No. It's like I still get lost in my own neighborhood sometimes. But that.
I remember being in Robertson and Olympic, and we rode down around that area.
Mm-hmm.
We rode around towards Pan Pacific Park. Hung out there for a minute. And then we started going back up towards back into Hollywood.
Yeah, that's been the sort of criticism that when Critical Mass gets started, and if you're late, there's no central place to like meet up with them. If, for example, myself, I got there late. Maybe if an hour into it, everybody meets at a certain place and they can reconnect for the ride, whether they've had a flat tire or something like that. But there was no central leader to the ride, right?
No.
And of course there's music going on. Did Harry bring his musical?
I didn't see Harry last night.
But did somebody bring music? I take it.
I didn't see any music last night.
Okay, so it was just people riding their bikes, having a good time after work, or the lack of it.
Yeah, the lack of it, I would say. But no, I didn't see any music trailers last night. Nobody with megaphones.
So it wasn't a noise issue. It was just people out there riding a bike, being part of traffic, more or less.
Basically, yeah.
Well, these are all questions I have to ask. Incy wants to ask a question here in the studio.
Incy? Oh, I love that.
I'm actually not asking a question, but I wasn't there last night. But it reminds me when I was 16, and with my school we went to Prague, and Prague was back then a communist country. And we were a group of kids, probably 10 of us or something, walking across the street, noisy. We just came out of a bar, and the police immediately came and arrested a bunch of us because we were noisy, and we crossed the street at an intersection that we were not supposed to cross. And some people actually got into prison because they were too noisy in the middle of the night. So it completely reminds me of communism, how the police force is treating this special group of people. They would never do that if a group of 10 people would walk across the street who just came from the bar, and they're walking towards the car, and they're a little bit noisy. But it seems like that if you're on a bicycle, there is this idea of now we can harass you because you're using a mode that is not accepted in Los Angeles for whatever reason that it's not accepted. So I'm sorry that you guys had to go through that last night. I think it's a scary experience to see that happen to anybody, either you know them, even if you don't know them. I mean, it would scare me even if I was just a bystander on the street seeing what cops are doing to cyclists. I would tell my child, don't get on a bike. Look what the cops are doing to them. This is horrible. After they've been just smiling and waving at the cyclists. So this is absolutely uncalled for by the LAPD, that they would want to break up a group of people on bicycles because they're moving on anyways. They're gone in 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we do run red lights sometimes, but that's no reason to tackle anybody. That's a ticket. It's not a reason to cause harm to their bike and to their person and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Raquel, I'm so glad that you called in to give your account. To kind of tag on what Nancy says, my experience in LA is that once you tag on the protest aspect of anything, this incites some sort of military action by the police department, and they just do not know how to approach this protest. And I understand that you guys rode to the BP station, the green station on Olympic and Robertson. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, that crazy-looking gas station. It looks like it's part of the Disney concert hall.
Yeah, that's actually run on sustainable energy, and it's solar panels and the whole thing, and that is their gem of sustainable architecture for BP. And it's great that you guys rode out there. And this is a protest. It's not just a right to ride, but it was a protest against the Gulf oil spill. And when there is a protest, the police have to follow certain, and Stephen has outlined these certain actions. You have to notify. So, what were cops doing? Were they notifying you to disperse? Were they asking you to get off your bike? Was there any sort of communication?
We didn't get bothered at the gas station.
No. So this is kind of like completely unrelated, and it just seems like it's like the SS guard or something just attacking you.
I actually said that earlier.
Yeah. It's just crazy. So I mean, I don't understand why the police are attacking a protest like this of cyclists when we have the bus riders doing hunger strikes or people closing down the streets for hours and hours in downtown LA, and the cops aren't beating them. So I mean, what's the difference here? That's kind of a question that's in my mind.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I'm sitting here. We're here in the studio. This is Steven. How you doing? We're here in the studio watching the video. And
Manny's video?
Yeah. And something comes to mind as I watch the bike cops, because there's a few bike cops there, and, with their police bikes parked on the curb, and they've got someone in handcuffs and a bike on the road. And one thing that comes up is I oftentimes, in the course of chatting with somebody, hear them say, well, I'm a cyclist myself, but in this particular case, I think the distinction is we may all be cyclists, but the difference is I don't kick other cyclists like these guys are doing. And so you've got the bike cops, and there's one of them, bam, kicking out at the cyclist, and smirking. But hold on a sec, I'm going to take this call. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, we really appreciate you calling here and telling us your account of last night as we watch the events again. Now, is this, just from a personal level, is this going to discourage you from bicycling normally in Los Angeles, just this event?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so what did you learn, though? I mean, did you learn anything about last night when you ride with critical mass or something, or are you going to do anything differently?
Critical mass for years. I just don't ride near the sidewalk. I try to ride away wherever the cops can't reach me.
That's an interesting thing, because according to the 2122A, the provision, it says that the bicyclist has the right to, it doesn't require cyclists to travel in the door zone, or it allows you to ride safely outside of that zone, almost in what would traditionally be traffic. And I think if you're more than two people, you're allowed to take the lane.
Oh, yeah.
So these are the things we're just pointing out to people that are listening to this, thinking that it's always the fault of the bike rider.
I have that vehicle code tattooed on me.
Well, maybe you don't have to get that graphic, but that's a good one. I like that. Everybody's sort of telling me to do something. Did you want to say something there, sir?
Oh, no.
Just a thing.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you, and we're going to get back to our people in the studio. Thank you for calling.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Well, yes, we're back inside the warm little sounding huddle of Kill Radio, knowing that at some point we're going to have to go out into the street and do this once more. IncyBox has brought up an interesting video right now relating to Bike Week. She has Chief Beck. Let's see what she's going to talk about online. Incy, what is this video you pulled up?
This is the LAPD online video about encouraging cyclists and reminding drivers that cyclists have the right and the protection of the LAPD. This is on YouTube, called Bike Week.
Okay,
Los Angeles Police Department
here we go.
Is joining Metro to remind the Los Angeles Police Department is joining Metro to remind everyone that we all share the road. Cars, buses, trucks, and bicycles. But bicycles are particularly vulnerable and need our protection. So be careful when you see them on the street. Always give them the right of way. Not just during Bike Week LA in May, but every day of the year. So starting today, join LAPD and Metro in protecting bicyclists. It's the law. And it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Well, apparently somebody in the police department didn't watch the film they made. But obviously, we don't expect them. They have other things to do, a little more pressing. No, we actually really do expect them to watch. I'm being facetious here. You were going to say something, Incy?
Yeah, we absolutely. It's our freedom to be in Los Angeles, and we're in America. We have the freedom to move about. We have the freedom of expression, be it religious expression or be it our movement expression. And they're the LAPD. Putting out a video encouraging cycling and letting the public know that cyclists have the right of the road, and then doing something what they did last night is completely hypocritical. Like, what is their message here that they're conveying? I mean, Charlie Beck might be writing as much as he writes. If he does not call his force and make the law mandated, like if something like this can slip out, and he has brutality going on the street against cyclists or any human beings that are assembling in peace, and it's not even assembly because they're moving. So
absolutely,
it's. I mean, I find it absolutely hypocritical, and I'm completely disappointed by the LAPD.
Well, you got to ask yourself, is this just bike washing? Similar to greenwashing?
Yeah.
Are they just doing this for Bike Week, and then come the next week they start throwing cyclists off their bikes?
Yeah.
I have to be honest. At some point, I've looked at this and thought about that, but I'll give you an example. Last week, while I was missing your event, the Bike Side, I was at another bike event. And we'll play it later today, not right now. But I was at the bike day that in Pasadena, the women from Cycle were putting on there. And before that, I thought, well, I'll be nice and catch the line downtown, so I don't have to ride it the whole way down. But they had blocked it off for the Amgen, and I kind of got up on the sidewalk, like the guy said. I don't usually ride on the sidewalk, but I rode on the sidewalk because he said, "Hey, they're blocking the streets off," and I said, "Okay, great." And then as they continued to ride downtown, they were hassling people on bikes, and I realized a lot of these people live on their bikes. We have to face this. There's not housing for our homeless, and some of them live with their bicycle. And so they were trying to get this guy on his bike out of the way, and I said, he probably rides more than any of these guys that are racing. And they were just like, we have to get him off the street. And I'm going, but these are his streets too. Maybe if you just sort of direct him to one of the side streets where the tour isn't going on. And it was a violent exchange, not on my part, but on his part, about why cyclists had to respect basically the racing crowd. And I said, we talk amongst ourselves. We don't have to wear spandex to talk. We're going to get along fine. Once I get down to a place I can turn, I'm going to turn. I'm going to be out of your hair. But this guy lives on his bike. Maybe you should recognize that and treat him like a human being or something. And at which point he was just really irate and turning different colors, and it wasn't something he wanted to address, which was, I think we tend to forget that maybe they're not like us, and this is why I go back to the idea of critical mass, how it started. You could bring any bike. It didn't matter what kind of bike. it was the idea that you were sharing community, and maybe that's when I'm going for it. And that's one of the issues that I brought away from the bike ride in Pasadena that I thought was so good. They may have provided all the quote trappings of, Cliff Bars and coffee from Jones's and the New Belgian coming in, not serving beer, mind you. We're going to get to that later on, but they were about spreading community and spreading something else besides, hey, we're going to make a buck off you. Hey, we like to believe that we're all part of the community, whether you ride a BMX bike, whether you're on fixed gear bikes, whether you're hauling something with your extra cycle, or if you're in a Bakfia, if you can afford it, getting around town, that we're all part of this biking community. We all need to be safe. You were going to say something, Stephen.
You know,
should I get the soapbox out?
Pasadena, at the same time, is the city that worked really hard to come up with that no cycling side-by-side rule.
Yeah, the anti-Peloton kind of thing, too. Yeah.
And we had to spend an inordinate amount of time fighting that particular rule. And they took every item on the agenda that they could think of and pushed us past midnight, week after week. I think there was 3 meetings before they finally acquiesced that you cannot violate state law, even if you're Pasadena.
Right.
The second thing is, if you look in the newspaper this past week, you'll see Chris Ziegler spent $4,000 fighting a ticket because he rode his bike on the streets of Pasadena, and was on a non-shareable, in other words, a substandard road, a road that wasn't wide enough to share.
Right.
He rode in the lane.
Oh,
and
my
then
God.
got a citation. He happens to be, it's interesting, he's a League of American Bicyclists instructor, urban cycling instructor, and so he knew the law, and he stood up for his rights, and it cost him $4,000. So I like Cliff Bars. I think the Cliff Bar company is a pretty great company.
Oh, yeah.
I like a lot of their social awareness. But I got to tell you this about Bike Week. For all of the Bike Week festivities, the bottom line is Pasadena, that particular officer is still quoted in the press as defending that position because, after all, a cyclist is smaller than a car. That's his fundamental principle for why they don't belong on the streets of Pasadena. So for all of the festivities, I'm telling you, your rights are being squeezed, and here we are with last night. Again, LAPD sticks a baton in the wheels of a bike.
Yeah.
Your rights are being squeezed, and this is what we've got to address. So we can have Cliff Bar festivals, and I love Cliff Bars. Hey, did you just have a Cliff Bar this morning?
I had 2.
And they weren't the big ones; they were the little ones they were handing out. See, we know how to conserve, man. I'm hoarding mine too for a ride when my girlfriend freaks out, and I got to give her some sugar too. Right?
Well, I just wanted to tag on what Steven was talking about, and you too,
Jeremy, my co-host.
Yeah, the bicycling community is a very kind of humanitarian effort. We all kind of see each other as equals. We try to, at least. But we have a strong division in the LAPD and the police forces across the nation, since this is international show.
Right.
As officer and citizen, you're either in the know with the LAPD, or you're one of them, or you're one of us, a human or a citizen. And this is a strong divide, not just in cycling, but just in the greater community in LA. And we kind of need to put a stop to this. I mean, it sounds kind of radical, but LAPD needs to maybe soften up a little bit and see they're humans and we're humans too. They need to start treating us, equally. I mean, they're not above the law. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
That they can't transcend everything and sort of be above the law.
And that's the way that
was a Steven Seagal movie too.
Above, yeah. Law.
Yeah. Now we're just making jokes about jokes, but
in the task force meeting, I'm trying to tell him, look, you can't keep acting like this because it just turns into this military state. And if that's the way you want to go, LAPD, then fine, sure enough, go ahead, go that way. But you're going to find a lot of us fighting against this, and it's just going to get worse.
There's so many better fights that the LAPD can do rather than fighting cyclists that are just using the street.
Exactly. And case in point, we had this big thing about hubbub about handcuffing cyclists, and they described, well, the cyclists, they're within our 3-foot radius of the officer, they could potentially strike out and hurt the officer, and we're handcuffing them for the officer's protection. But they do not handcuff the motorist. They do not pull the motorist out of the vehicle when there's a speeding ticket.
I always get that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And just recently, a few weeks ago, this is in Santa Monica. Santa Monica pulled over a motorist, and the motorist shot the officer. It must have been like through the door or whatever. Shot the officer and ran off. And we have these motorists are driving 2,000+ pound cars. They could easily turn the engine back on and run over anybody trying to confront them. So I'm not asking that LAPD start pulling people out of cars and handcuffing them. I'm just asking why handcuff the cyclists. I mean, all the cyclists I know, they're either pacifists, they're very passive, and they're not. When they're confronted with the police department, they're not going to go attacking. So I think it's just this paranoia that's it's just permeating our police force, and maybe they just need to see that we're all humans. We all want to coexist.
So we've been talking about the issue last night at Critical Mass. The police came out and decided to, let's just say, stop some bicyclists that were obeying the law for no other reason that we can discern other than the fact that they just wanted to create some sort of, I guess, lawsuit in the future. Anyway, this is Kill Radio. DJ Chicken Leather here. Standing in with my co-host today, Jeremy, and we have Dale from Caltrans still here. He's shaking his head like, oh my God. He's just trying to suck it all in. He's just amused. Mr. Box from, what do you want to be known from? Bike side? Bike left? Bike right? All sides? What side?
Bike life.
Bike life. And of course his lovely wife, Incy, who did the Rebel without a car production of that was totally sustainable with the Greensters, who moved the whole movie production. I'd like to see more movie production going that way as they build up a back lot in Universal City that's only going to be a tourist spot yet again. Hopefully they'll shoot on that back lot and they won't have to have a haul out Christopher whatever, Marty, and the rest of those guys from Back to the Future. Do you think they're going to do another Back to the Future? They're going to go back to the bike, maybe?
Yeah, with any luck in hoverboards. Yeah. The interesting thing about Universal City and the mayor...
They have their own police force, I heard.
They do, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Well, you know why they have their own police force?
Because
they're not part
sued.
of L.A. And so when Antonio Villaraigosa goes over the hill and says, let's keep the industry in L.A., he leaves L.A. to do it because he leaves the city of L.A. not knowing where the boundary is.
Right. Yeah. I haven't worked in a while, and I work in the film industry. And I'm not shilling for work, but I'm shilling for the fact that a lot of people are stifled with the fact that they're not getting the same tax incentives that other cities are giving, and they're not there is no proper, let's just say, pro film here in Los Angeles. It's always about, we're going to have to figure another way to make money off of you. Let's put in more of these or that. You were going to say something, Incy.
Yes, talking about Rebel Without a Car Productions, we are actually doing our next project.
Oh.
Which is called The Plastic Patrols.
The Plastic Patrols.
And it's a web series with two young girls.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's the return of Plastic Man from the DC Comics.
No.
You finally got the rights to that superhero, huh?
No, this is the superheroes are two young girls, Merritt and Marlo. And they're 5 and 7 years old, and they want to save the world single-handedly. And so we're doing a web series called The Plastic Patrols, and we're going to teach parents and their children how to be sustainable and how to avoid plastic in their lives. So that's the next project.
It's funny because I'm sort of joking about Plastic Man, but what has happened to Plastic Man? I mean, in the lore of comic books and superheroes, Plastic Man, I think, probably is deteriorating out there, or maybe he's not as pliable as he used to be with all this oil around and stuff. I don't know how you catch Plastic Man, but that's something we'll have to put to the blogs or the nerd stuff. Anyway,
I'm trying to avoid plastic as much as I can. So,
well, see, that's the other thing. It's like we can make choices too sometimes, and this gets to be more off of bike, but more sort of sustainability, which kind of all ties into the theme that I started out with today, and it was the fact that we all can find some sort of freedom within our own lifestyle, and maybe it's not about making big, heavy choices like taking money that you don't have and buying a Prius to go nowhere because I don't have a job to go to with my Prius, but maybe making that, pulling out that bicycle, tuning it up, and riding that around. That might be my choice to reduce my carbon footprint.
Well,
because, quite honestly, those hybrids, they still pollute. They still use gas engines unless they're all electric.
You mentioned a couple of times today that people are on bicycles ride around for fun, or that the Prius driver should drive around nowhere. But
no, they go places too.
But I mean, most of us cyclists use the bicycle as a tool to get somewhere. I don't ride for fun. I have fun going to places because I ride and I'm not stuck in a car. But I I personally take it very serious, my transportation option, that I have a bicycle. I prepare when I get on a ride, dress the way I would dress to go to work or to go to my audition. So I don't need to have special gear. I behave just like a motorist would behave, and I do my grocery shoppings, go to the movies, I go to meet my friends, and go together with my friends to the theaters on my bike. So to me, it's a very viable and very serious mode of transportation. It's not for fun, but I'm immensely enjoying it and having much more fun on my bike, riding to certain events or to my job than I would in a car.
Right. Okay, well, with that sentiment being...
was going to say something.
No, go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, I enjoy riding my bike for fun sometimes, and you know, that's the great part of it, is that it's a dual use, or, you know, there's many uses to the bike. And I think the best thing that all of you could do out there this next week with your bike, the best place to ride would be Tuesday at the LA City Bicycle Advisory Committee at 7 o'clock at Hollywood City Hall. I believe it's 6501 Fountain at 7 p.m. And come out, ride your bike. There'll be plenty of places for parking. We'll take over the meeting. Let's get a lot of public comment in there about what happened on Friday, and we'll all go get some pancakes and bacon, and then have some energy to work off.
Yo! Why does it always have to be bacon, man?
Well,
why can't it be vegetarian?
Why can't it be
vegetarian?
It can be vegetarian.
Some soy bacon.
I'm partial
or
to, you know,
Swaken.
I don't really like bacon that much.
I don't either, but they serve it there. What we're trying to say is we're making our own inroads into the bike culture by giving you a voice, and this is the best way to be heard. So come on out. This is Bike Talk. I want to thank Nick for letting me take over the whole show this week. Nick's on vacation. Look what happens. We've jumped everywhere all over town. I myself am heading out. That's right, to the Bike Oven, located at 3706 North Figueroa. I'm going to be wrenching in a little bit. Wrenching, for you guys that don't know what it means, is, yes, that's right, you can come in, talk to me, and maybe I'll know enough to, God forbid, fix your flat tire. It is Kill Radio. That's about it. One last thing. Tomorrow, Chupacabras, high noon, Sunday. Yes, it's just like a car event, except it's all with bicycles. So it's not like a car event. It's totally different than a car event. You're going to have fun at this event. We want to thank Paul from Atomic Cycles beforehand for putting this on at much costume himself and mental anguish, because he's going to have to put up with chicken leather all over again tomorrow. That's right. Atomic Cycles, located out there in the beautiful San Fernando Valley, located near Louise and Saticoy. That's right. Chupacabras tomorrow. Okay, that's about it. Next week, we're going to try to define a couple things about, that's right, the bike week that was, and hopefully the bike week that's every day. It is Kill Radio. And it's not as grim as you think. That's right. Kill Radio. Maybe we'll see you on your bike out there. Thank you.
It's more about talking food. It's your hand to compute. 8 your hand to compute.
Hey, bicycle man is what I am, and proud to be. Who watch my style, well we're second dilly-dally. Who wait I want a penny yard, 21 past 3. One wheel in the air, we don't fail, we really, really. I took a turn on the avenue. Saw this girl that long time I knew. Hey girl, how is the day? Hey, hey. She looked at me and this is what she said. She said, she don't want no bicycle man. Oh, she is looking for a car man who wanna drive some minivan. I looked at her and smiled a while. Hey, she realized I didn't like her style. Cause bicycle man is what I am and proud to be. Watch my style, well we're stacking dilly-dally. Whether one a penny or 21 past 3. One wheel in the air, we don't fail, we really, really. The next day, she see me in a motor car, flagged me down, asked me if I'm going far. I looked at her, do you remember yesterday? She looked at me, and this is what she had to say. Says she no want no bicycle man, oh she is looking for a car man who wanna drive some minivan. I looked at her and smiled a while, hey, she realized I didn't like her style. Cause bicycle man, that's what I am, and proud to be. What's my style? Well, we're second dilly-dally. Whether I want a penny or 21 past 3. One wheel in the air, we don't fail, we really, really. I'm riding, big crystal out of bicycle.